Hello and welcome to Weekend Review on Trust Television. And on Weekend Review, we take a look at some of the biggest stories of the week, thereby giving you an opportunity to catch up in case you missed it. My name is Martia Umar. Thank you so much for joining. But without further ado, let's get to some of the biggest stories that occurred during the week. You know, the week started with a public holiday. That was a Monday, and that was in commemoration of the 1st of October, which is the 62nd anniversary of Nigeria. We got our independence in 1960, right? So public holidays was observed on that day, but public holidays are periods during which the workforce is given some time off from work by nations or states to observe particular events. And Nigeria observed many public holidays, and some of which at times planned for by the people. This has attracted arguments on the basis that these holidays are too many and detrimental to productivity and the national economy. Aisha Sali was on the streets on that day, and she filed in this report.
A specific number of days in a calendar year are usually set aside by the government as public holidays to mark certain occasions like the New Year, Boxing Day, religious festivals, independence anniversary celebrations, among others. Although intended to encourage rest, some people defy these days due to their line of work or business. To these people, the weekends are meant for rest, and taking the weekday off as a holiday will affect their sources of livelihood.
Every workforce or firm or whatever should have their own time for vacation or this time they lay out for workers or shifts for them to rest. So when the public holiday encroaches, basically for a private firm, I don't think it will be necessary for them, because actually they are not under the government workforce. It's them doing their thing, so they may not adhere to that. Time is money, so when you spend your time doing nothing, you'll be losing money. So you have to get your time doing something to be productive.
As an entrepreneur, I went to a meeting, for a meeting. We're trying to set up some things against tomorrow. So there are different facets of being why some people are on the street, why some people need to be resting, why some people are celebrating. It all depends on the sector which you have. If I believe most private entrepreneurs, even outside Abuja, they will still be working.
Not to miss our present days again because of the situation of that's going on in our country. Like, they cannot sit at home like with a hungry stomach, for goodness sake. Like, for instance, someone that have like responsibilities like wife and children and with no money in your account, like, I'm not sure that person will sit back for public holidays. Instead, the person will go out to hustle.
Although the Minister of Interior, Ogbeni Rauf Aregbesola, made the declaration of Monday, 3rd October as the Independence Day public holiday, his assurances that government will tackle challenges facing the nation and bring smiles to the faces of Nigerians are lost on these people.
The of Nigeria now is not easy. Everything is very hard. Hardship. We are in a hardship now. We need to come out and hustle and get government to feed. That's why everybody. If you look at the weather now, you look at today now, it not look like public holiday because of the hardship of the nation.
Business today is kind of slow, but people are still coming out to buy. Basically, I don't think people are really much into Nigeria again because everybody's tired, everybody's fending for themselves.
The irony is that public holidays will continue to be marked to commemorate significant events, no matter how people perceive them. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And of course, the public holiday came, but on Sunday evening came with tales of disappointment as thousands of motorists traveling to the eastern part of the country through Makurdi, the Benue state capital, got held up following a tanker accident. Trust TV visited the scene of the accident and filed in this report.
The point of this accident is not far from the NNPC depot, where tankers load petroleum products to other parts of the country on a daily basis. But this one couldn't make it through a deadly pothole as it slid into a ditch, according to an eyewitness.
We saw this tanker was coming, and all of a sudden, she just dodged the pothole. Then she ran into the water there. So that's what happened. And we was there up to daybreak. And we did not see anybody to come out of taking the fuel up to now. tanker, we just saw the other tanker to come out.
The motorists lamented the setback caused by the accident, blaming it on the deplorable state of the road.
Just to Port Harcourt. On our way going to Aledi, we meet an accident here. It's one tanker driver that has an accident here. Then they bring another tanker to transload the load. That is why we are here since morning.
The management of the depot intervened in order to prevent a fire outbreak from the falling tanker. At the time of this report, there were frantic efforts to open up the road.
We are here this morning. There was an accident. A truck carrying petroleum motor spirit, that's PMS. The regular petrol had an accident, and we were just lucky. There are no injuries, no loss of life. What we are trying to do presently is to transload the product from the accidented truck to an empty truck, so that the other truck can be pulled out easily and safely. That's what we're.
A combined team of the police, road safety and fire service cordoned the area to avoid fire and also control human movement around the accident scene.
We are here in order to condone the place so that we don't have people who are not part of the operation going into the area of operation. It's all for the safety of everybody. Somebody could be carrying maybe matches in his pocket. Maybe motorcycles passing around with their engines on to cause spark, and then we can have a breakout of fire, which will be dangerous for everybody.
And now we'll move away from Benue State, where a Kano High Court sitting at Miller Road has adjourned the hearing of Chinese national Gang Kwangrok, who was accused of killing his Nigerian girlfriend, Omoko Sumsani Buhari, over absence of an interpreter. So at the resumed hearing during the week, Defense Counsel Muhammad Dan Azumi moved the motion that the sitting cannot proceed as the accused person needs to be communicated in the language he understands. Speaking shortly, Kano State Attorney General and Commissioner of Justice Lawan said the case could not be heard as the accused person has a constitutional right to be communicated in the language he understands. The case has now been adjourned to October 27th. The deceased and accused were said to have been dating before the relationship turned sour. And now to electoral matters. The Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, has said that the nation's registered political parties must disclose the sources of their campaign funds and keep to the rules guiding campaign financing and spending limits. The INEC chairman, Mahmoud Yakubu, said this in an exclusive interview with Trust TV. And according to him, there are also limits to what individuals can contribute to campaign financing, as individuals can only make contributions subject to certain limits. The INEC boss reiterated that parties cannot receive financial contributions from outside the country, adding that any money received by the party from outside the country must be transferred to the commission.
The limits are in the law, actually. Remember, it wasn't 5 billion under the old law. It's the new electoral act that set the limit for 5 billion for presidential. And then it sets other limits for other elections, from governorship down to councillorship in the FCT. The FCT is the only part of the country where INEC conducts local government elections. So these are in the law, and they must be obeyed and respected. There are also limits for what individuals can contribute to campaign finance. Individuals can make contributions subject to a certain limit. And the party also has its own limitations as to what it can spend, including where the money is coming from and the responsibility for full disclosure for transparency. The law says that parties cannot receive financial contributions from outside the country. And if there is any money received by any party from outside the country, such funds must be transferred to the commission. But there is another dimension to the foreign issue you have raised. At present, Nigerians only vote in Nigeria because the law says that you only vote where you are registered. And we don't have registration centers or polling units outside Nigeria. So there has been advocacy by Nigerians living in the diaspora to be given the right to vote, as is the case in many other countries, even in West Africa. Again, is the law. The law says that voting is only allowed for those who are registered and domiciled in Nigeria, not outside the country. So there's been a lot of advocacy for Nigerians resident outside the country to be allowed to vote. We have also championed that cause. The Commission supports Nigerians living outside the country to vote.
And meanwhile, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Femi Gbajabiamila, and a delegation of lawmakers met on Tuesday during the week with President Muhammadu Buhari. He says President Buhari is studying the recommendation from negotiations between the House of Representatives and the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU.
Well, Mr. President, as usual, had a very good listening ear, and he took the report of the House. He accepted it. We discussed it at length, the details of the report, and he wanted to go through them himself. And we will get back to. He will get back to us. We have another meeting on Thursday between our good selves and Mr. President for his final decision. Absolutely very hopeful. We had a good engagement. We had a good engagement. Very positive response. He asked us a couple of questions in some grey areas, which we clarified, and he accepted the report, and he wanted a couple of days to go through it.
And still on the strike action, the Court of Appeal in Abuja during the week ordered the Academic Staff Union of Universities to call off its strike. And at the court session, the appellate court said ASU should obey the order of an industrial court which directed the suspension of the strike before seeking to appeal the judgment. Aisha Saliu was there and she has more details.
The appeal court has dismissed the Academic Staff Union of Universities application for a stay of execution of an earlier ruling of the National Industrial Court directing the university lecturers to resume work. But that is not the end of the matter. There is still the substantive appeal challenging the ruling of the National Industrial Court. The three-member panel of the Court of Appeal, led by Justice Hamma Barka, says the union can appeal, but only after it resumes work.
You heard the court considering the interest of students who had been locked out of school and educational infrastructure that had been locked down for the past 8 months, and saying that order of the National Industrial Court must be obeyed today, and upon proof of compliance of that order, they can file a notice of appeal. We had made the point that there was no appeal before this court.
So, ASU is expected to hit the 21st September order of the National Industrial Court to call off the strike.
We will get the ruling of the court and we will advise our client appropriately as the court had enjoined Mr. Femi Falana. But I can assure you, and I'm assuring you again, just like Mr. Femi Falana and assured yesterday, that there are already machineries in motion to ensure that the strike is called off as soon as possible.
Students are obviously excited by the new court order and are urging both sides to settle their differences amicably to avoid future strikes.
Let the ASU obey the court order. Meanwhile, let the government fulfill its own part to ASU, so that we will not have this issue again. 8 months, and on this note, I would like to call on the Nigerian students to remain calm and prepare themselves as we are going back to class. Let us be law-abiding citizens. And of course, we'll start the struggle of compensation from the government. We can't be losing months without any compensation.
The appeal court has tied ASU's immediate resumption of work immediately to the appeal, and this should happen within 7 days. It means the permission given by the appellate court to the union to appeal will be automatically vacated if it does not resume work in the given 7 days. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And you're watching Week in Review on Trust Television. More stories after the break. Don't move for more, so we'll be right back. Welcome back. Thank you for staying with us. You're still watching Week in Review on Trust Television. And still ahead, former governorship aspirant of the People's Democratic Party (PDP) in Gombe State, Dr. Jamilu Gwamna, said the only solution to the crisis in the party at the national and state levels is inclusivity. The PDP stalwart, who spoke in an interview with newsmen in Gombe, said he's optimistic that the reconciliation effort initiated by PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar to reconcile aggrieved members of the party will yield fruitful result. Ibrahim Ismail tells us more.
Concerned about the current crisis in the People's Democratic Party (PDP), Dr. Jamilu Ishaku Gwamna, a stalwart and former governorship candidate of the PDP, advised all members to facilitate genuine reconciliation. He said having divisions in both state and federal government levels will not help the party, but further complicate issues posing threat to its unity and victory.
Well, you see, the answer to all these things is genuine reconciliation. If any party, whether PDP or APC or anybody, any party, if they want to win an election, they must go as a united front. They should not allow all these divisive issues to scuttle the, as we see, the imminent victory of PDP in Nigeria or in Gombe State or wherever. But that depends on genuine reconciliation. So, and that, puts a lot of responsibilities, especially those that have emerged as candidates of the party, to reach out to people, that are aggrieved, as our president, our presidential candidate is doing. He's still going, reaching out to people, the Wike camp, on this. He has not given up, and I believe he's not going to give up. So if you come back to Gombe State, if there's going to be a genuine reconciliation of people, that, to be brought on board.
When asked about the chances of the PDP in Gombe State in the 2023 elections amid grievances at national and state levels, Dr. Jamilu said the recent visit by the PDP presidential candidate Atiku Abubakar indicated that Gombe is for PDP.
And this is, as I said, this is democracy. You cannot take away that right of people to choose whoever they want to choose. But the majority, the voice of the majority in Gombe State is for Atiku Abubakar.
The People's Democratic Party had been in turmoil since the emergence of former Vice President Atiku Abubakar as its presidential candidate for the 2023 general elections, a situation that created tension between the PDP presidential candidate's camp and that of Governor Nyesom Wike of Rivers State. From Gombe, Ibrahim Ismail reporting for Trust TV.
And during the week, it was a big relief as the remaining 23 Kaduna-Abuja train attack victims were released after 6 months in captivity. President Muhammadu Buhari met with the 23 freed passengers of the March 28 train attack on Thursday during the week, and the Nigerian Defense, that happened at the Nigerian Defense Academy NDA Hospital in Kaduna. Before boarding NAV 001 back to Abuja from the Kaduna International Airport, the president made an impromptu stopover at the hospital to see the released victims, and Buhari expressed deep appreciation to the Nigerian military for their brave services in securing the safe release of the hostages from terrorists. And before his detour to the hospital, President Buhari had commissioned cadets of 69 regular corps of the NDA in Afaka, Kaduna State. And meanwhile, after spending hours in the hospital, the remaining 23 victims of the Abuja-Kaduna train attack have reunited with their families in Kaduna. And one of the freed victims told Trust TV in an exclusive interview that words cannot describe how he feels being freed after a harrowing experience in the hands of the terrorists. Bello Musa reports.
Arriving the community in the evening, Abdullah was greeted by dozens of neighbors and sympathizers who came to welcome him. He narrated his ordeal in the bush for 6 months.
We live in one environment under the trees, and we do take our meals 2 times a day, in the morning and in the evening. We take tuwo and soup, and sometimes with rice. That's all. It's very somehow undescribable, but the way we seen it, how they used to preach to us, we are taking it as how they are taking it.
While thanking Allah for his release, he said it was harrowing and an unforgettable experience.
Oh, mashallah, I feel very happy, very comfortable. I can't forget this day in my life. And the first day I felt inside that bush, that was on 28 March 2022.
The relatives of Abdullah also expressed joy by seeing him after 6 months.
It was a very, very tedious, very difficult situation. So you cannot even imagine the situation that we have encountered. So, people have been, relatives, neighborhoods, many people have been facing so many challenges. Even some people, because of the situation, have come across many issues.
It was a terrible moment, but we intensified prayers for his release, and God has answered our prayers. We thank Allah for his release, and we also thank people who helped us with prayers during our trying moment.
The family also commends the federal government for securing the release of their loved ones. Bello Musa, Trust TV News, Kaduna.
Every year, the 5th of October is set aside to celebrate teachers. In commemoration of this year's International Teachers' Day, during the week, Nigeria's 3 tiers of government have been called upon to equip teachers with the necessary skills, incentives, and welfare to enable them effectively carry out their role of transforming and shaping the future of the education sector in Nigeria. The Nigerian Union of Teachers, NUT, made the call at the commemoration of the 2022 World Teachers' Day. Trust TV's Aisha Saliu has the details.
The national president, Nigeria Union of Teachers, Titus Amba, in his remark at the commemoration event, called on federal and state governments to increase educational budgetary allocation in compliance with the internationally recommended benchmarks and harmonize the retirement age for teachers, among others.
Secondary education subsector are faced with serious challenges. These include non-implementation of 30,000 minimum wage for teachers in some states, shortage of teachers, poor infrastructure, lack of instructional materials, insecurity in school, inadequate funding, and poor condition of service in general. It is regrettable that this deplorable state of education and poor working condition of teachers adversely affect education service delivery, especially in the public sector. Let me use this occasion to reiterate our call on government at board level and stop. At both national and sub-national level, to place high premium on education and afford teachers their pride of place in the society.
On his part, the Minister of Education, Adamu, commended the NUT for not embarking on any industrial action during the period of the President Muhammadu Buhari-led administration.
We call on state and local governments to prioritize the welfare of teachers by raising their salaries on part-line tasks in their respective budgets.
Vice President Yemi Osinbajo, speaking on behalf of President Muhammadu Buhari, reiterated the determination of his administration to return teachers and the teaching profession to their rightful place in the country through the integration of technological advancement in teaching techniques.
Introducing the important responsibility that teachers themselves have, are able to be at the cutting edge of advancements in education, and especially the use of technology and modern teaching methods. Education must respond to the dynamism, the speed of development, and the massive changes that are taking place.
Deserving teachers, administrators, and schools from parts of the country were presented with awards from the annual President's Teachers and Schools Excellence Award instituted in 2007 to recognize and reward their outstanding contributions to quality education delivery in Nigeria. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
So ever heard the saying, customers are always right, and are a very integral part of buying, selling, and rendering of services? Different organizations and service points took the whole week to celebrate their customers. Middle Trust Group also marked the Customer Service Week. Take a look. So it would be right to say happy Customer Service Week in arrears. But with that, we have come to the end of Week in Review on Trust Television. That is for this week. But for more updates, subscribe to our YouTube channel and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Martia Umar. Thank you for watching.